What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Redditgoss. On this channel, we read and react to the juiciest stories Reddit has to offer. Today, we'll be discussing two stories from the subreddit r/Am I the Asshole. All relevant links will be posted in the description below. So without further ado, let's get into it. Am I the asshole for going off on my pregnant sister-in-law after repeatedly being disrespected and ignored by her? Alright guys, this one is kind of long, so let's jump right in. My boyfriend, male 30, and I, 25 female, had just gotten married in May of this year, after being together for 5 years. For context, my now husband's family has an interesting history and dynamic. I describe them as very multicultural and diverse. My father-in-law is Black Arab mixed, and my mother-in-law is White Persian mixed. As a result, their extended families are spread around the world. My husband has 3 more siblings, an elder brother and 2 younger brothers. I'm not sure if this is important, but I'm Asian. So, my husband was studying in my home country, which is how we met. He has also lived and worked in my country for the past 4 years. It's safe to say he's made his permanent home here. Because of the dynamics of his family, I rarely get to meet them because they all live in different countries. During our 5-year relationship, I barely met his parents 2 to 3 times and never met his older brother and his wife. On the other hand, I see his younger brothers quite frequently because they are currently studying in my native country and we are all really close. Fast forward to May of this year, when my now husband and I chose to get married in my home country. All of his family flew here to attend the wedding, and I met my husband's older brother and his wife for the first time. The first awkward incident with my sister-in-law occurred when I went to the airport with my husband to pick her and my brother-in-law up a few days before our wedding. When we first met, I extended my hand for a handshake, expecting a full, strong handshake, to my sister-in-law. And she literally just used the tip of her fingers to, quote-unquote, touch my hands. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like when you really don't want to touch someone's hand during a handshake. Following that, she walked right past me and hugged my husband. On the other hand, my brother-in-law is really welcoming and thrilled to finally meet me. He hugged me and said it's great to finally meet you. His warmth made me forget about my sister-in-law rudeness, and we moved on. In the days leading up to the wedding, my sister-in-law makes subtle remarks about the wedding, criticizing every element we choose, from the flowers to my wedding dress. For everyone's information, I come from a financially secure family that owns a business. My parents supported half of the wedding costs, while the other half was covered by myself and my husband. My husband is a doctor, and I work as an engineer. One thing that frustrates me is how my sister-in-law keeps telling me how fortunate I am to have a wealthy family to mooch off from, and I'm sure do throwing a lot of tantrums at my parents, given how enormous and luxurious the wedding is. That's giving jealousy for sure. But it's always too subtle that it wouldn't start a fight, but enough to make me uncomfortable. For background, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are also both financially well off. My husband's family was similarly financially comfortable to begin with. My brother-in-law is an accountant, and my sister-in-law occupies a management position in a company. She is also a lifestyle influencer with quite a large following on Instagram, and they live in Dubai. You know how expensive the city is. Interesting. So it sounds like they're pretty well off. So like, what is she being so weird about? And she has a large following. So like, what's tea? Maybe she wishes she had a luxurious wedding. Maybe they acquired their wealth later on in the marriage, but let's keep going. Fast forward to September of this year. My husband and I received an invitation from my brother-in-law and sister-in-law for a gender reveal party and baby shower in October, which occurred a few days ago. We were ecstatic and decided to book our flights to Dubai immediately after receiving the invitation. For your information, there will be 2 separate events: a gender reveal party for brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and their respective families/acquaintances, and a baby shower for my sister-in-law and her female family members and acquaintances the following day. I was invited to both parties, and I was supposed to attend the baby shower without my husband, which I believe was a nice opportunity to bond with my sister-in-law. But then my sister-in-law contacted my husband one day before the gender reveal party and informed him that I was not invited to the baby shower. The reason is that she does not want to draw attention away from her during the event. My husband and I were plainly perplexed as to how and why I would be diverting attention away from her. And her reason is that no one knows or has ever met me, so they will ask, and she does not want to spend time explaining who I am to her guests. Because my husband and I do not want to cause unnecessary drama, we just agreed that I will only attend the gender reveal party with him. Yeah, that is nuts. How can anybody detract attention away from the person the baby shower is honoring? I mean, you're pregnant. I think everyone is going to be focused on you. All right, let's keep going. On the day of the gender reveal party, I went with my husband, and my sister-in-law did not speak with me at all, or even recognize my presence. I tried to make a small chat to congratulate her, and she just blew me off each time. My brother-in-law, on the other hand, is as friendly as ever, thankfully. When the party appeared to be coming to an end, I went out to the car to get the gift I had purchased, apparently for the baby shower, but because I would not be attending the baby shower the next day, I decided to give it to her that day. During that time, the guests began to leave, and when I handed her the gift, she screamed at me loudly. The first thing she said was, "Don't you have any manners?" I was clearly taken aback and bewildered. She then accused me of attempting to assert dominance by flaunting my wealth and rubbing it in her face, as well as looking down on her. What? For those who are curious about the present I bought, I purchased a baby blanket and a sleeping bag from Dior. And the present is in the Dior shopping bag. I felt humiliated. After being screamed at, and my blood was boiling at the same time, I yelled back in a rage, asking her what I did wrong to deserve to be treated so disrespectfully by her. I said that her insecurities were not my responsibility, and that if she despised me that much, she should not have invited me in the first place. Okay, clock that T. She appears stunned by my words and begins crying. Both my husband and brother-in-law rushed towards us to calm us down. My husband suggested that we leave as well, as some of the guests had already begun to leave. It happened 3 days ago. And since then, everything has been quiet. Nobody has said anything. Now I feel horrible for yelling at a pregnant woman. Wow, that definitely seems absolutely insane. And she definitely seems to be giving some type of like hater vibes. But we do have an update, so let's jump into that and see what happened. It had been a month since my last post, and now I have the opportunity to provide an update. Finally, first and foremost, I would like to thank everyone who commented and supported me in the previous post, and I apologize for not being able to respond to each and every one of you. By the way, my husband and I have returned safely to our home. After a few days of silence following what happened at the gender reveal party, I eventually sat down with my husband to discuss. We had an honest conversation, in which I expressed how mean my sister-in-law has been to me. And my husband ended up apologizing for not standing up for me while subconsciously knowing how my sister-in-law has treated me. As I mentioned in the previous post, my husband comes from a household without girl siblings. And for the past 12 years, sister-in-law has been like a sister to him, leaving him torn between speaking out against her and sticking up for me. He said he didn't expect things to go so bad because we live in separate countries and won't see each other much. We resolved our conversation with him promising to have my back if something like this happened again. In the same week, I met my husband. In the same week, my husband and I had the opportunity to speak with brother-in-law through a video call. Sister-in-law was not present. I know not everyone would agree with my apology, but I did apologize to brother-in-law for causing a scene by yelling at their gender reveal party. To my surprise, brother-in-law, it was fine, and he remarked she had it coming. That's a shame. Even he knew that his wife was doing the most. All right, let's move on. Following that, brother-in-law apologized to me on behalf of sister-in-law, as well as for turning a blind eye to what had been going on between me and sister-in-law. We discussed what might be the source of sister-in-law's hatred for me, and to my surprise, it appears to be tied to the fact that sister-in-law believes I am taking over the position of daughter-in-law in the family from her. What? She has been the only sister-in-law for my husband's brothers, and she believes I'm taking over the role. As I previously stated, my husband's younger brothers have been studying in my home country since early this year. And we have had many opportunities to spend time together. According to brother-in-law, sister-in-law believes the brothers have been pulling away from her and became closer to me. For information, the brothers are 22 and 16 years old. Adding to the unpredictable pregnant hormones, she believes I am buying the brothers' love by spoiling them with materialistic items. Brother-in-law stated that she had mentioned her concern to him several times previously, but he did not expect her to take it seriously and always dismissed it. He apologized again and stated that he will discuss it with sister-in-law after her feelings have resolved. According to brother-in-law, sister-in-law has been acting as if nothing has happened, so he is also unsure when it is appropriate to bring the issue to the table. We ended the video chat on a positive note, and I promised brother-in-law that I would speak with the brothers and perhaps encourage them to contact sister-in-law to see how she is doing so she does not feel left out. And as for sister-in-law, I haven't spoken to her yet. And to be honest, I'm not sure I ever will. My husband and I have decided to move on from this situation and focus on our own lives. I believe that is all the updates so far. And to be honest, I could use some suggestions on how to fix my relationship with my sister-in-law. Should I reach out to her or something? Wow, this situation is definitely insane, and it seems like these are internal issues that sister-in-law is going to need to deal with on her own. Like, why are you jealous of the fact that, you know, your brother-in-law has found somebody that he loves, and now there's an extra woman in the family, and the family has expanded? Maybe she's dealt with issues in her personal family of feeling like, you know, always second best, and she finally felt like this was her time to shine. But either way, it definitely wasn't appropriate to, you know, lash out and treat her like that when she was trying so hard to be nice. All right, so let's look at some of the comments. So this user says, sister-in-law sounds like she has an actual personality disorder. This is far from garden variety bitchy, jealous, and self-centered. I feel really bad for the baby. She went from being the only woman to not. That matters to some women that are not like other girls. And that is 100% true. You know, as we all know, every girl is not a girl's girl. So that could be what's going on here. This user, Lumis, says, I don't know. I know some women actually value being the most important woman in the family generation. So they can be the matriarch and all that kind of BS. Power and control mostly. Honestly, why bother? Don't try to pat her fifis. Do you mind if I borrow this for upcoming family dramas? Oh, there must be another thing. Okay, I'm going to read this one and end it here. Oh, this is not concluded or resolved. But now, OP knows her in-laws and her husband know her poor widowed sister-in-law was acting poorly and did nothing so they wouldn't hurt her fifis. Sister-in-law is just going to get sneakier and more passive-aggressive. Maybe the younger brother-in-laws are pulling away from her for good reason. I agree. Maybe they're pulling away from her because she's messy as fuck, as we see. That could be the case. And, you know, it also could be a whole case of out of sight, out of mind, you know, because me, like, I'm a horrible communicator. I don't do it on purpose, but like, I have so many friends and family that I just do not reach out to because, you know, life be lifing. I have my own things going on. And it's not that I don't think about them. I think about them all the time. I just simply don't think to reach out because I don't have the bandwidth or time just gets away from me. I'm sure the brothers are probably not intending to kind of push her to the wayside. They also are young in a new country. So, yeah, she got to chill. So, all right, that concludes this story. Let me know what you guys think about the whole situation. Drop your comments down below. All right, so let's get into this next story. Am I the asshole for considering ending my not terrible marriage because my step family just isn't working? My husband, 40, was a widower when we met. I, 36 female, was a single woman who had never been married before. My husband has a daughter, April, 13, from his first wife. April was 5 when her mom died, 7 when my husband and I met, 8 when she and I met, and 11 when we got married. Things with April were okay before I got pregnant. And by okay, I mean we weren't very close, and she wasn't calling me mom or saying she loved me. But we got along well, and she said she had no issues with us getting married. She was in the wedding as her dad's best person. All was good. Then I got pregnant with our son, who is now 4 months old, and it all changed. She was furious when she learned we were expecting. She told us she would not be okay with that and asked her dad how he could do that to her and her mom. From that moment on, she was hostile to me and very angry and lashed out at me, my husband, and anyone who tried to say she was going to be a big sister or described our son as her little brother. We got her into therapy and we did family therapy. April refused to speak. We tried to find a therapist who'd click for us, but she wouldn't talk. Then we did find a therapist that made April speak one time, and she spoke to say that she did not want to work with us or make things better. She would not say why or answer any questions the therapist asked her. She didn't address it with her individual therapist either. They worked on other stuff, but that wasn't enough to help her come around. People said once our son was born, once she looked at him, she'd fall in love and would go back to how she'd been before. That has not happened, and she's aggressively against anything to do with him. She has never held him, and we have no family photos of the 4 of us. It breaks my husband's heart. He has talked to his daughter and disciplined her, but it does nothing. She will scream that he is not her brother, and she's even against saying half because, quote, he's not my sibling at all, end quote. I can't speak to her at all now. Gone is the nice relationship we had, and that makes me sad too. But this isn't working, and our home no longer feels like a home. It feels like a house on the verge of collapse. I'm not sure I want to stay married and figure this out another 5 years. I don't see any hope for it to get better. And even though my son will have to be around, maybe having 50% of the time in a loving home would be better. I'd be happier even though I love my husband. When I confided in a friend, she told me I can't give up this fast and not giving it time to get better. Am I the asshole? Wow, this is a tough situation for sure. Like, I mean, there is no way she could have seen this coming, that April would, be so against having a little brother. It sounds like, from what I remember, I think April is like 11 years old now. And, she probably just never appropriately grieved her mother's passing. And, she probably feels like her father is just throwing the family they had away. So I could imagine this is very tough to navigate. But the fact that she is not open to therapy just makes things a lot worse. And I do not blame the OP for considering just cutting her losses, because, postpartum is rough, and if it ain't working, it ain't working. But all right, let's get into these comments and see what the people on Reddit have to say. So Judging A-Holes is responding to the line that said, people said once our son was born, once she looked at him, she'd fall in love and would go back to how she'd been before. LMAO, I just came to ask, who the frick were these delusional people? Look at him and fall in love. Really? That's something you say to a nervous, soon-to-be parent. They couldn't have had any real experience with this situation. It rarely happens that siblings, especially older ones, who want nothing to do with the baby and are vehemently opposed to it, flip the switch because they see the new kid. They don't see the baby and think, "Aw, how cute. I love them so much." They see the baby and just think, this is the drooling, puking poop monster that's turning my world upside down. Yeah, they're absolutely correct. Not just that, but she won't be the only little queen bee anymore. My older sister threw me out of the window as a baby and tried to harm me all throughout my childhood. Be careful. Is your sister Wednesday Addams? That's funny. Yeah, no, they're 100% right to tell the mom to watch out, because some parents, turn a blind eye to problematic behavior of the older siblings, and they do become violent, and it can get really scary. Okay, let's see. Let's look at a few more comments. Similar to me, my sister is 8 years older than me, and even at 29, still has not so hidden hate towards me. It goes in waves, but I've chosen just to distance myself from her at this point. Wow, that is terrible. Emergency Twist says, my older sister tortured me throughout my childhood. We're no longer in contact, but the last time she told me I ruined her life by being born, she was almost 30. Joke's on her. I have a loving family and a son. She's still a permanently single, unlovable bee. Wow, so it seems like a lot of people responding to this thread can relate to having older siblings that hate them well into adulthood, which is very sad. I'm really close with my siblings, and I just couldn't imagine having those feelings. My dad has recently remarried, and he just had a baby. My little brother is 2, and I thought it was strange that he was starting over, but I never had any ill feelings like this. I hope that this family can come to a resolution of some sort, or maybe, with time and maturity, April can have a change of heart and learn to love and appreciate her brother, appreciate her growing family, appreciate that her father is happy and, has found love again. But when it comes to kids, it's difficult, so it's just going to take time. All right, y'all. So that's all we have for today. Let me know what you think about these 2 stories down below. And I just want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subbing and hitting the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload. I'll see you next time. Bye.